Okay, so I wanted to take another look at two terms that we use a lot of and that students sometimes confuse. And that's distance versus displacement. So what you see here on the screen is a route from the GO station at Guildwood. So that's just to kind of highlight it here. That's here. Just to be honest, this is part of my commute to work. So I go to the GO station and I get off, and then I have to get to campus. There's a few ways to do this. Sometimes I take the bus, sometimes I bike. If I have lots of time, which is very rarely, I will walk. But the nice thing about biking or walking to campus from here is that you can go along the ravine, and it's a beautiful path through the forest, and it brings you all the way to the science wing. So that's what you see here, is that I've used Google Maps distance to map out what the exact path would be all the way to campus. Okay, so if you look at, well, what distance is that? And Google will tell you, well, that's just over 5 kilometers. So this here, maybe I'll make that a bit thicker. So this path is our distance. That's what did you actually walk? So I'm just going to say that's our distance, and that's 5 kilometers equals 5, 0.0, basically 0.0 kilometers, and that's our route to campus. And if you look at how much time it takes, let's say it takes me an hour, which is approximately right, and then you could say, well, on average, what was your actual speed during that time? And I would say, well, if it took me an hour and I went 5 kilometers, then my average speed was 5 kilometers an hour, which for walking is actually pretty good. And so you see that, that measure the distance here with Google. But there's another term that we're going to use, and it's slightly different, and that's the displacement. So what's the displacement in this specific case? Well, the displacement is going to be, well, we're going to take this ending position here, and that can be our, we'll just call it XF for final position, and we have our initial position here at our Guildwood station. So XI. Okay, so we've got our XF, our XI, and then if we can draw this line in between them. Okay, and so that's our displacement. We're going to have our XF, our final position, minus our initial position. And if you do that, if you look at that straight line distance, it's about 3.25 kilometers. Okay, that's the difference between distance and displacement. With displacement, you don't care how you got to that position. We could have gone along the road like the bus would, and the bus goes like this, I think, and then up here, and then over there, and then in, and so it would take a very different path. The displacement for the bus would be exactly the same, because the finishing point and the beginning point are the same, but the distance that it would travel would be different. As well, if we calculate our average velocity over that trip using the displacement, it'll actually seem as though it took me 1 hour to go a displacement of just over 3 kilometers. So it appears to be slower. Okay, so I hope that helps to clarify the difference between distance, which is that path along which you actually traveled, and the displacement, which is the difference between your final and initial position. That's it.